So one of the big weekends of the summer, of course, the Eclipse, one of the biggest races of the flat calendar. Jason Weaver is alongside us as always. We'll also get the thoughts of Stephen Derbyshire a little later on. And also, Jason, a little bit different. Obviously, with Haydock doors currently shut, looking at the ground there, big meeting, get switched to Newmarket. So we'll have a very different look for the Old Newton Cup and the Lancashire Oaks as well this weekend.
Yeah, they will have that long straight, won't they? The rolling long straight of the July course. Perfect conditions. I can tell you that it'll be fairly lively, so don't expect it to be on the soft side. All depends how much water is thrown on, but you're right, completely different test. Good that Newmarket have come to save some of the big races. Of course, that Old Newton Cup, there'll be lots in there. I'll be thinking further down the line, whether it's Ebor or even jumping up out of that sort of company. So great there. And also with the £10 weight for age allowance, it's not until this particular meeting, the Eclipse at Sandown, that we talk about it. You know, it's been going on all throughout the year, and whether the 3-year-olds are in receipt of that massive weight allowance as they go up in distance. And £10 it is for the old boys who are trying to give it to the youngsters, obviously, with the Constitution River.
Yeah, so we'll talk about the Eclipse at length. But just in general, I mean, it is always a great race. Like I say, it's the clash of the generations. We usually do get the Derby win. This year it's going to be the French Derby win, of course, in Constitution River, taking on the older boys. It's a clash of the generations. We've been treated to some brilliant races. It is an illustrious roll of honour.
Yeah, look, I think when I'm going back through, I was having a look yesterday, you know, See the Stars 136. You know, it doesn't seem that long ago, the likes of Gayarth, and Gayarth himself will be represented as a sire this time around, you know, so it's a wonderful race. And I think the nature of it, obviously everybody harks back to Bosrasham, don't they? You know, the tactical nature that can happen around there. But we've got a couple of pacemakers in. Wathnan have just splashed out 50,000 to run their pacemaker to make sure things go smoothly for Gethin, and Aiden has got them in. Sumion's managed to get his ban reduced from 8 to 5 because of what reason? I've got no idea. It seems very strange, but let's hope that tactics don't get involved.
Yeah, there's pesky school kids on the bend. That's what I got him reduced. Yeah, talking of tactics, you can forget Not Now Cater, of course, Ryan Moore. What a ride coming down the stand. So we'll talk of that later. We've got 7 races to preview, though. And we start with the Charge at 150 over the Flying 5 Furlongs and the Aussie Asphora, likely market leader.
Yeah, and look, has she lost that little bit of pep in her step is the worry, isn't it? She arguably put a better performance last time in the King George. It was a good run. She was readily picked up down the outside by the eventual winner. There appears to be a strong bit of pace drawn towards that far side rail with Partisan Hero and Luna Ibrinis. If I'm probably butchered. I've gone that route anyway, but I think if you say it quickly and confidently, you'll get away with it. But that appears where the pace is going to be. I mean, Rumstar, last year's winner, he'll be sort of flying home, and you've got Words of Truth. Who would have thought that his conditioned run on Champions Day behind Mission Central would work out so well? And he was well on top, wasn't he, in the closing stages over course and distance? But if you look back at that, Palmiera was right up his tail and got no run whatsoever, rated absolutely nothing. For that reason, I think it's got a strange look to it. I'm going to go for a bit of an upset. And I think that Leovani, who ran an absolute shocker when at the Royal Meeting, but was running away, literally running away over the first couple of furlongs, dropped back down to the minimum. That was in the Wokingham. And the return run, I thought, at Lingfield wasn't too bad. Maybe an upset. Each way play.
What are the chances that in a 10-runner field we've picked a 50-1 shot together? I mean, look, you put a line through Ascot, 6 furlongs, stiff track. She's back down. She's got the pace. She's got the draw. Yeah, James Dolan for Carl Burke shouldn't be going off at 50-1, and I imagine there'll be plenty of support for. Yeah, totally agree. I've had a nibble at a big price.
We like that. We like that. And drawn in the right part of the track. That's the key, isn't it?
Certainly is. I don't think a Carlberg, James Dore, Wathenor should be that price anyway. Right, we have got the challenge at 225. This is a belter as well. 17 runners over the mile. The draw could be quite important. You might want to be stuck out in the car park with a big field around here and lots of regulars in these handicaps.
Yeah, now, look, if we jump straight to the top of the market, it's easy to see why Tribal Chief is close to the top, if not leading the market. Seems equally effective over 7 and the mile. He's got a good draw. He brings in strong form. There are plenty of positives for him. And when you go down through the others, I mean, look, in Darlow, he certainly managed to run a cracker. He was first of 20 on his side. There are a whole load of them in behind, the likes of EBT's Guard, Surly and Bay was also placed over on that far side of the track. And then you look at others, the likes of Beagle Bay, who'd been going through the grades. I remember I was at Yarmouth when he started his winning run off a mark of 80, and he absolutely bolted in. He then comes back and wins off 89 over the course and distance. And it is that bit of form, but not him, that I've latched onto. Hard Endeavour, who goes for the Jane Chapel Hyam team, got a good draw. Got Billy Loughnane on board. He actually started off in the Wood Ditton. You know, that can either be a good race or a poor race, can't it? His return run this season was shocking. He ran no race whatsoever. But that return up the hill, Oisin Murphy, just have a look back at it if you get half an opportunity. Not given a hard time in the closing stages once the bird had flown. I think he's sitting on a massive run. He's a low mileage improver. Billy's on board, and he's an each-way price.
I like it. Hard Endeavour then for Jane Chapel. I'm in those famous Harris colours in the challenge. Then we've got the Distaff listed race over the mile for the fillies. Obviously, a lot of people will look at Pacific Mission here, likely market leader. Second in a Breeders' Cup, but not only followed up in 2 starts this year.
It hasn't really happened, has it? I mean, she was second in the Mayhill? And then she then put a great performance up over in the Breeders' Cup. Return effort was rubbish. A little bit better last time. I suppose it's on official rating. She's £6 clear on those, which gives her a good chance. Secret of Life bringing in the 2 from 2. She won on soft ground, both her second try anyway, and the team suggested that was what she wants. I suppose at least she's going up the hill at Sandown. Look, Sacred Ground has been a little bit expensive to follow, should we say. Ryan Moore gets on board for the first time, so could easily see her improve. But I quite like Act of Kindness at the top of the pack. She's a half-sister to Ylang Ylang, the Fillies Mile winner. Return run at Newmarket in the Nell Gwyn. She was on the far side of the track. You remember Asleep won, coming down the stands rail at a massive price? That was a really good effort from her. Admittedly, a little bit disappointing when we saw her last time at York. But remember, Charlie couldn't buy a winner at that particular time. The team were woefully out of form. So I'm going to give her a pass on that. Judge her on her return effort at Newmarket. I think she's a bit of a player. She's got a rating. Billy the Kid is on board because Buick is over in America.
He is on stateside at Saratoga, isn't he, for a few interesting rides. Right. The big one, the Coral-Eclipse, then the feature race, £1 million in win and place at prize money at 335. We've got the French Derby first, second, and fourth, that we must mention, of course, for the 3-year-olds. We've got the Brigadier Gerard second, the Tattersall Gold Cup third as well, and a couple of pacemakers. As always, a great race, and it's going to take some winning.
Yeah, it's an absolute belter, and thankfully, as we said, King's Gambit, 50 grand, Spencer on board. So he won't be taking any messing around from Flushing Meadows or Hawk Mountain. I mean, Hawk Mountain, you wouldn't want to give him a freebie up on the top end, would you? Because he wouldn't come back around Sandown. He could easily get away. Sadad. Now, people were questioning, was he too far out of his ground when he ran on to finish third last time over in Ireland? He's an improver. I think Constitution River was brilliant at Chester. I think he was only okay when he managed to win over in France. I know you can say the wide draw, but the team controlled it from the front. There wasn't that burst of acceleration. Now, Did he underperform, or did he use too much to get over from that particular part of the track? It's whichever way you look at it. Look, if he returned to Chester form, he may well go round on the bridle. But because I'm going to take the French form with a pinch of salt, I think Gethin is the big improver at the top of the pack. I know that he got a chunk of weight off Ombudsman, but it was a brilliant run from him. He's clearly improving. He's got a good draw in one. He's going to be on the paint. We've got a strong pace to run at. We'll have sorted out the rubbish by the time they get to the 2-pole, and it'll be left to the big guns to fire up the hill. I just think he might be the answer.
Interesting. Then taking on the O'Brien trio, Gethin to come of age then. And yeah, it was a cracking run, wasn't it, in the Brigadier Gerard, getting weight off Ombudsman, but that form doesn't look too shabby after Royal Ascot.
No, it doesn't look too shabby. And the thing with Gethin, he's still got a massive upside to him. Do you know when he came, I think it was up to Newmarket last year towards the back end, he was very, very keen in his race. You know, like he was still an immature horse. After he won early on his debut, or the early part of his career, everybody talked him up as the Derby horse. It didn't happen. He got a slight injury. He was taken out. They've been patient with him, but he's a big, powerful individual. Why won't he continue to get better? Look, he's got a big ask. It's a big fight, but I'm just taking that French form with a bit of a pinch of salt.
Okay, then it goes to the older brigades. The Eclipse going to Jason. We're going to hop over to HQ as well on the July course. Obviously, this meeting rerouted from Haydock, as we touched at the top of the show. 7 go to post in there first, in front of the ITV cameras at 2:05. 1.6 miles. It's 1.6 miles down to come 1.6 miles back for the 3-year-olds. And so Royal Ascot form on show here. Arc-a-Lay finished 5th at the Royal Meeting.
So, Magnitude, Arc-a-Lay, Amora Queen, Mythical Bay, and Heroic, and Hard to Believe are all stepping up in trip. The only 2 that we've got in there, Lopio and Heroics, they're proven over the distance. So that's one thing that we have to sort of factor in. If you look back at the way Arc-a-Lay finished, it was the kick off the home turn at the Royal Meeting. So he was in a pretty poor position, but look, he was drawn out. I think he was out in 20 and he had to drop in. He's bided his time on the way round. It was the acceleration that he showed from the home turn up until about half a furlong out. There was just that real 220-yard power move through the centre, suggesting if he stays, he's going to have far too much speed for these in the closing kick. It should be run at a decent gallop. Mythical Bay likes to go forward for the Balding team. Another one stepping up in trip who won really well at Newbury last time. Yeah, Arc-a-Lay. I think that he's an easy pick for me.
Easy pick then for the Fav in the 2:05. We've got a skinny one as well in the Lancashire Oaks, the big Group 2. At 2:40, and Smart Prescott and Luke Morris. They know what it takes, the big one. They won the Arc, of course, a few years ago. And here they've got Tiffany, who likes finishing second, including in this race previously.
Yeah, and look, I suppose, Estrange, a very, very good winner of this particular contest. You know, the form is rock solid. Crep Suzette, she looked good in the Park Hill. Probably hasn't happened for her. Lava Stream was second in a Ribblesdale. Miss Justice only having her 3rd run for the team. You can go down through all of them. I suppose Lady Rosaria down the bottom. She unseated when she was a 50-1 shot for the Ribblesdale last time. The fact they put the visor on Tiffany would suggest that maybe she'd been keeping a little bit back for herself. I don't know. I think I'm going to go back to Tati Coram, who won really, really well, I think, at Goodwood last time. That was off a 9-month layoff. Now, if you go back to some of the quotes from the team when she won early on last season, it was all systems go for the Oaks. That's exactly where she was going. It didn't happen. She obviously grew and got a little bit weak. And patience, I think, is going to pay off, because if she sneaks out there into anywhere like an each-way price, she's got to be the play.
Yeah, massive play. That win at Goodwood, she had Cadana behind. She's chased home a Strange. Anna's won herself at Pontefract, clearly progressive. Yeah, that'll be the way I play. Certainly Tati Coram, Tiffany Also, a bit of second-itis. You wouldn't be taking a short price, would you? Then, as you said, a big, long straight for the Old Newton Cup, 1.5 miles. It's not what these runners will be used to. Well, they're expecting to run at Haydock, of course. 12 runners, though, go to post, one of the big betting handicaps of the week.
It's a big betting handicap of the week, but you know exactly where the winner's going to come from, don't you? How good was Class Leader? Look, it was super impressive. That's not that long ago, has been kept back for, a big pot in mind, if you like. And you would imagine Class Leader here, straight on to the Ebor. I would imagine that's going to be the route, isn't it? I mean, there's a guaranteed pace on. Burdett Road will go forward. Claymore won't be too far away. Plage de Havre, we know that he's a solid enough performer. But when you go down through them, you're sort of latching on, hoping that, Enemy can return to form. Night Breeze has been going well for Ian Williams, but they haven't got the profile of a Haggis improver with a big pot on offer. It's got to be Class Leader.
It has, and the long straight thing could suit him. It took him a while to get on top of your, but boy, he was well on top at the end.
He's a powerhouse, isn't he? That's the key, isn't it? Once he got up into gear and started to get into that sort of relentless motivation, look, there's no guessing game for Tom Marquand as to where he was going to be for the weekend.
Certainly not. Ebor bound potentially en route via the Old Newton Cup for Class Leader then for Jason. Right, before we get his best bet, let's hear from SD or Stephen Derbyshire get his thoughts on the ITV racing for this weekend.
Well, what a great weekend of action we have this weekend, from Newmarket and Sandown. And of course, the feature meeting of the day is at Sandown. It's the Eclipse. It's a race where the younger horses, the 3-year-olds, pit their wits against the older ones at 4 and above. And this year's renewal is probably on par. I think you'd go as far as to say that Constitution River was the most exciting middle distance colt in the UK or Ireland at the moment. A facile winner at Chester. The horse won the French Derby really, really well last time from what was a tricky draw and a masterly ride from the great Ryan Moore. I've no desire to take Constitution River on whatsoever. I think he will probably win here. I'm not quite sure he's a betting proposition, but he could just be a cut above the opposition. Gethin is the obvious alternative. Gethin was second last time to Ombudsman in the Brigadier Gerard, albeit getting £7, but that form did not take a knock at all in the Prince of Wales at Ascot. It looks between the two, in all honesty. It's not very original, but I think Constitution River will win this. Over to the first race of the day, the 5 furlong charge at Sandown at 150. And Rumstar is amongst those at the head of the market, but I wouldn't be that keen on the horse. Yes, he won this last year, but he was 25th last time. Asaphora just seems to be slightly on the downgrade. She could get away with it here, but again, at the top of the market, I'll be looking for something at a much bigger price. The horses are at a bigger price, and I think you can throw 2 darts at this. I'd Get Ready to Rumble, who didn't have a good beginning last time at Ascot, but had previously run really well from a tricky draw behind Mission Central. I think there's a lot more to come from this horse. And of course, the upside is that the horse seems to be in a little bit of form. The other one who I think is quite interesting in this race is the Katie Scott trained Luna Anibre Niche, which means moon over Inverness. On the face of it, she only finished 6th last time at Ayr. But the really interesting thing here is I was at Ayr that day and she was palpably on the wrong side of the track. That wasn't a bad listed race. Had horses like Beautiful Diamond in there. And she looks worth playing at a really, really big price. In the 225 at Sandown Park, this is a cracking handicap. It might even be one of the best 1 mile handicaps of the year so far. I thought the race Beagle Bay ran in, although the horse placed in it hasn't done much since at Musselburgh, over course and distance last time, is probably one to follow. I thought Beagle Bay did quite well to win that day, and a £5 higher mark certainly appears to underestimate him. I'll chance Beagle Bay. I was surprised the horse wasn't at or near favourite. In the 1 mile fillies listed race, there's a lot of questions about a lot of these, to be honest. I think, for example, if we were to look at Pacific Mission, she was beaten over 10 lengths last time. And if you're backing a horse at favourite, you want quite a few things in your favour. Yes, the ratings favour her, but I wouldn't be that sure that she's in any sort of semblance of form. Silenciosa is the really interesting one against her. Silenciosa was 6th in the Fred Darling, just behind Tulane, and certainly didn't get a clear passage. She's given a free pass for a not very good run in the 1,000 Guineas, and in these calmer waters, I quite like her. So that's Sandown Park done with. Over to Newmarket. Now, this meeting is usually staged at Haydock Park. There's some remedial work going on at Haydock Park, and they hope to be running in August. So the race names I'm going to give you may sound a little bit weird. In the 205, I thought Heroics was interesting enough. Winner or over this distance last time, 14 furlongs is a fair way for a 3-year-old in July. I just think that the horse is overpriced, and a £3 rise for winning at Sandown Park makes the horse interesting. In the 240 at Newmarket, well, this is all about Tiffany, but I don't think I'm alone now in saying that I think the horse has question marks. The main question marks being, of course, it's now 31st of August 2024. It's a long time between drinks for her winning races. And she was second last time in a listed race at Shanty. This wouldn't be the strongest Group 2, but the Lancashire Oaks run in Suffolk. I think the really interesting one is Lava Stream. Now, Lava Stream travelled really well to a point last time on the Knavesmire at York. The effort petered out, but that was over 14 furlongs. And back to 12 furlongs, she's certainly interested enough. She was second in a Ribblesdale behind Port Fairy and in front of Kalpana. And if in any sort of semblance of that form, she should go very, very well here. In the 315 at Newmarket, the Old Newton Cup, named of course after Newton Le Willows racecourse, but this year run in Suffolk, there's only 12 runners. This is usually a very, very competitive affair. Sporting Silvermine was 4th in the race last year and seems to be in a bit of form at the moment. A lot better off at the weights with the 3 who were in front of him. I think he's capable of going well at an each-way price. I want to back him, and I also want to back Paddy the Squire. Paddy the Squire, despite his advancing years of 6, seems to be in the absolute form of his life. Was 3rd last time at Royal Ascot. And I think backing those 2 each way, rather than the Haggis-trained favourite class leader at very, very skinny odds, may be the way to play the race. Just one more for you at Newmarket, not yet priced up at time of recording, but I did think that in the 350 at Newmarket, Raja King was quite interesting. Raja King was 4th last time at Royal Windsor in a race that is beginning to work out well. The time was very, very good. The second Indian run absolutely hosed up at Thirsk on Monday, and Raja King may just be working his way back to a much better performance here. Formerly with Stuart Williams and now in the care of Terry Kent. It's only the 3rd run for the yard, and a mark of 76 makes the horse look very, very attractively handicapped. Hope you have a wonderful weekend. Do, as always, gamble responsibly, and come on England on Monday.
Well, thanks to Steve. We'll be back with him shortly for his best bet. But first of all, we will get the thoughts of Jason Weaver. 7 races looked at. variety of prices, some favourites, some big ones trying to smash it out of the park. What would be the best play for you?
Yeah, look, there's some skinny ones in there, and Class Leader's probably going to be the cornerstone of many an accumulator, I would imagine, throughout a busy afternoon. The more I look at Hard Endeavour, who goes in the challenge up the hill there, a mile, a big field, I think we've got a good draw. I think we've got a good jockey. I think we've got a low mileage improver who is quite clearly sitting on a big effort. So Hard Endeavour, he's a huge price. So can I put him up each way? I think you've probably got to in that sort of price, in that sort of race.
Yeah, that's in the challenge, and the challenge accepted. Hard Endeavour then each way. Jason's a best bet. Let's see what Stephen puts up then for his best bet of the weekend.
In the opening race at Sandown Park, a 5 furlong Group 3 at 150. The best bet of the weekend probably is Get Ready to Rumble at a very decent price. I think the horse was quite unlucky last time at Ascot. Absolutely slithered out the stalls. You can forget that. Was not drawn well the time before at Haydock in the Temple Stakes, but perhaps is best judged on finishing third behind Mission Central, again from a bad draw at Naas at the end of April. If you look at that run at face value, obviously Mission Central has since gone on and won a Group 1 at Royal Ascot, and that form is very, very solid indeed. So I think the best bet again of the weekend is Get Ready to Rumble in true Anton Deck style.
Okay, thanks, Stephen. Cheers, Jace. How much are you looking forward to this Eclipse?
Listen, when we get the class and the clash of the generations, we've got an unknown quantity in Gethin, and the team have thrown in their own pacemaker. You imagine it would have a different feel, wouldn't it, if he wasn't in and the team hadn't paid that £50,000 to supplement King's Gambit. So there's a little bit of chess gonna be played up the hill. We know what the track plays like. Strong, good gallop. Let's find out if that French form is rock solid, or is he going to return to the form of his Chester win when Constitution River looked like a wonder horse.
Cannot wait for it. The big race then. Let's look forward to the Eclipse at 3:35 on Saturday afternoon. Right, best luck wherever you're back in. Enjoy the action. Keep enjoying the World Cup. Can England get over the line in the early hours of Monday morning? We'll certainly find out. Best luck wherever you're back in. See you soon.